Hello, my name is Ted Harold. This is my wife Jill. We've been married for 31 years, have an anniversary coming up in a couple of weeks, and we were pastors of 3 different churches in our 12 years of ministry. And until I did something that I regret. During that ministry here in Ohio, our last church, I started not being able to find myself with God, and in turn, I lost my way a little bit, and it turned into me losing my way a lot. I did some things that I shouldn't have done. I was ministering to this family, in this particular family we got very close to, and I got too close, and I had a moral failure. I wasn't looking for this. It was something that just happened, but it happened because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And at the point where I was physically drained, mentally drained, couldn't stand it no more, I went to this park one day and sat by the river, and I just cried my eyes out because I was physically sick, and the conviction of God was over me so hard that I couldn't stand it no more. So I had to tell my wife. So the first phone call I made, though, was to this other lady. Told her I was going to confess to Jill. Then I called a pastor friend of mine that met with me at another park, and I drove there and I fell at his feet and told him what I had done, and the things that had happened, and just cried my eyes out, and I just couldn't say it enough of how sorry I was, and then we decided that we needed to call Jill, and so we called Jill to have us meet us at a church to where we could talk.
A few months prior to this, we had been having some struggles in our marriage. We're not, pastor and wife, they shouldn't have problems. That's not the case. We had been having some major struggles, and with Ted's physical issues going on, and such, I just came to the point where we needed to separate, and he had gone to live with his mom for just a short while, just to take a break and gather things, because I had no idea what was going on, we talked and couldn't come to a conclusion of what was wrong. So when I got the phone call, they told me to meet at the church that they were at, and all the way there I was just not worried. I just had let the Lord have the whole situation. I didn't it was out of my control, and so I just kind of was like, well, maybe this is the beginning of the end, or what. So when I got there, the other pastor had met me and said that Ted was in a really bad way, and I was okay. And so I went into the room where he was, and he had just been bawling, and he said that he had something that he needed to tell me. And at that point, I just kind of braced myself. I didn't know if he was saying, I'm done with the marriage, I'm done with ministry, what all it was. But that's when he had told me that he had had a relationship with another woman. And at that point in time, obviously my heart was crushed. I trusted. I didn't ever dream that my husband would do this, especially we had just had our 20th anniversary.
She came into the room, and before that, the pastor friend of mine told me that I'd take whatever it is that she was going to give me. And that's scary in by itself. But just didn't think about that. I was just too busy crying and being so guilty about what I have done, and just the conviction was on my heart so bad. So she come in, and I told her I couldn't look at her eyes. I couldn't look at her, and I just had my head down crying, and I told her what I had done, and it just devastated me so much that I just couldn't handle it.
Not too long after that, he just kept it was beside himself. So finally, the Lord just nudged me, and I went over and I just grabbed his face and I said, "Ted, I forgive you." And it was just an immediate feeling. It wasn't like through me as a person. It was definitely God's grace, because by no means had what led up to this been just a one man problem. We had our issues, and there was some depression, there was anxiety, there was just stuff that we can both be blamed for the leading up to the affair. But beyond that, I just knew that I had to forgive him. As far as me forgiving him, I was able to say that, but he confessed to me. It was a process that the Lord allowed me to do, but he couldn't let go of it, and so finally I just grabbed his face and said, "Listen, I forgive you, but you have to forgive yourself." And that, I feel like, gave him the freedom to let God cleanse him, and to take away some of the guilt. And I feel like we had like a dirty linen closet, and that we had just pulled everything out and started folding those sheets and those new towels, and just made everything clean and straight again. We had a chance to renew and to have a fresh start. And in that process, it is a process of learning to forgive yourself. Does it happen immediately? Not at all. It is been 10 years. There's still times that, just a couple weeks ago, he got teary-eyed, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And he said, "I just sometimes still feel guilty because of what that allowed to be taken away from us as a family and stuff." And I was just like, "But we've gained so much more, because now it's 10 years down the road. Our kids have seen a healed marriage, and Molly and Brandon have a marriage that they can see that through thick and thin, that it takes forgiveness to get to 31 years." So I just encourage everyone to have that, because none of us are perfect, and his sin's no greater than some of my sins. It just is the public sin that people think is bad. But so we all have to have that forgiveness, that and grace and mercy that God gives us.
For me, I wasn't going out and looking for this. It just, I was lost inside, and I needed to find something to fill that void in it, and I went to the wrong place. And after all this happened, Jill forgave me, told me I needed to forgive myself, and I just fell to her feet, and my tears hit her feet, and it was like the woman that was in sin and cleaning Jesus's feet. And when I got back up, I was like, I'm new. I feel clean. I feel better. But I had to do other things. I had to ask for forgiveness from my church. Couldn't do it in person, but I wrote a letter. I had to ask for forgiveness from my kids, my children. And I went as far as ask forgiveness from my family, and from her mom and dad, and even her sister that was nowhere near us at the time. And so it just, I had to replace that I was looking for with Christ, with family, with the Word, with praying, with keeping an eye on myself, and being worthy of that forgiveness that she gave me, that He gave her to give to me.